Dun dun dun. Thank you for joining me on a very special episode of V-Gaming. Am always is your host, the Saverings. How y'all doing? It's been a while since I made a video past my top 10 Pocket Watchers video, and that's been a shame. I've been really. Anyway, you guys don't want to hear that. IRL boring. You're not here for that. You're here for video games. What you see on the screen right here was a little fun little tidbit I learned today. Did you know that the term goon comes from Alice the Goon from Popeye? And then later on that became gooning, I guess, where you get thirsty over hot women online or ladies online or whatever. You get horny and thirsty over ladies or whatever. So this gif of Alice the Goon gooning over Popeye has come full circle. It's come full circle. So the term goon comes from this character, Alex the Goon. Gooning comes from goon. And here's Alice the Goon gooning. Alice the Goon, noun, gooning, verb, over Popeye. These are the kind of things. But we're not here for that. We are not here for that. What are we here for, you may ask? Let me get this on the screen. We are here because of a very special lady. This is Laura Fryer. For those of you that have been following video game news in the last 3 weeks or so, you've probably heard of her name. She is an industry veteran. Ooh, I'm looking kind of faint there in my webcam. Hang on one sec. Let me fix this. I'm looking a little faint now that I'm looking at this. Hang on one sec. This is the magic. This is the magic of oops. This is the magic of technology here, people. I look terrible on here. How do I fucking fix it? How do I look transparent? Do I look okay? Anyway, this is gonna have to do. She is a former Microsoft employee. She currently works for, as far as I can tell, Epic. No, this was 2012. She was a general manager at the Seattle studios of Warner Brothers Interactive Studio. So I just missed her. I was there in 2012. She might have still been there when I was there. I worked on the Warner Brothers side. That's when Warner Brothers had just bought Monolith, and then the Warner Brothers side was on one side, and the Monolith side was on the other. But let's see what she's worked on. Crimson, Revenge of Arcade. I remember this. This was on Windows 98. Crimson Sky is a banger. Jaeger, I don't really remember. Zoo Tycoon, sure. Gears of War. I worked on this. This was one of the first games I ever worked on. Zoo Tycoon 2, I worked on the Marine version on the PC. She worked on Vanguard. That's hilarious. For those that don't know, Vanguard was the game that Brian McQuaid, one of the co-creators of EverQuest, signed on for. I don't know if it ever came out. I don't know. But Vanguard, this was the MMO from the creator of EverQuest. Gears of War 2 Human, I wouldn't put that on there. Gears of War 2. Gotham City Imposters. My kid's mom and one of my best friends were hooked on this game for the longest time until they shut it down. And a friend of mine was he was the lead QA on this game. Guardians of Middle-earth, sure. Infinity Blade. Those were those tablet games, right? That iPhone game with the sweet graphics that everyone was losing their shit over because you could do like sweet graphics on an iPhone, but it was really basic. So she worked on the third one, not the first one or the second one. Shadow of Mordor. Master Chief Collection. And Gears of War Ultimate Edition. That's the last game she's credited on. That was 10 years ago. Her IMDb gives her credit for these games. These were also on the list. But the last time she had some really spicy takes that I did not agree with. Just for full disclosure, I've worked in tech and IT for 18 years. My last job was 2 years ago at Microsoft Surface. I tested gaming on Microsoft Surface. So we used the Xbox app, we used Steam, we used Epic Game Store, we used a bunch of different platforms, the Windows Store to test certain games, Minecraft, stuff like that. Fortnite, the things that you would expect, certain types of games. Yeah. And the last time she kind of popped up and she trended was when she was going on and on and on about the layoffs. The 9,000 Xbox layoffs, no, it was 9,000 Microsoft layoffs worldwide across all their divisions, which turned out to be 4%. 4% of their total global workforce. And everyone was all up in arms. What about this, though? Intel, 15% layoffs. This was yesterday. This was yesterday. Intel to cut. What the? Why did it? Intel to cut 15% of its workforce. How many people is that? It doesn't even say. They took out 50% of the layers of the company. Look, their stock went up $22. They're getting creamed, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, they cut 15% of their workforce yesterday. Where's the outrage? You know, Intel's a major, major player in gaming too, you know. Where's the outrage? Everyone was so outraged at Xbox. Never mind, it was all of Microsoft. But where's the outrage over that? Where's her video talking about that? Now she's talking about the dangers of success. Her last video was like they've lost their identity and they're floundering and they don't know what they're doing. And now she's warning about the dangers of success. So now they're successful now? Anyway, I'm going to watch about as much of this as I possibly can. I'm going to let her get her fair shake because she's definitely had her experience in the industry. But so have I. I'm in the credits for the Marine DLC for Zoo Tycoon. I'm in the credits for Viva Pinata on the 360. I'm in the credits for Halo 2 on the PC. I'm in the credits for Super Street Fighter Puzzle Fighter for the Vita. I'm in the credits for Google Earth. I'm in the credits for Speed Racer on the Wii. I'm in the credits for Fear 2. You know, so I have some things to say. I can speak on some games that I worked on. So, here we go.
Trying to rebuild their culture and their brand.
Hold on. To be fair, let's rewind it back because it wasn't at the beginning there. Okay, let's go. Turn it up a little.
After the infamous launch of the Xbox One,
the Xbox.
Team Xbox has been trying to rebuild their culture and their brand. They've spent billions of dollars acquiring beloved gaming franchises with some of the most talented developers in the world. They have the money, the talent, and all of the game franchises they could possibly want. So why are they laying off thousands of people? Why aren't they...
Oh my goodness, this again. Do you want a good example of some of the people that got laid off? Are we all familiar with Activision Blizzard King? Remember when they bought Activision Blizzard King? Did you know what they really wanted out of all that? Never mind they're picking up Call of Duty. Never mind they're picking up World of Warcraft. Never mind they're picking up StarCraft, which is like the national sport of an entire country in Korea. Never mind they're picking up Crash Bandicoot, who was unofficially PlayStation's first mascot. Did you know Microsoft owns PlayStation's unofficial first mascot? Those old Crash commercials. They did all that. But what they really wanted was King. And if you're not familiar with King Publishing. Lawrence King Publishing. Lawrence King. Who does that? Let's see. Lawrence. Hang on. King Publishing. Candy Crush. King, a mobile game developer, publishes the Candy Crush Saga series. Do you know how much Candy Crush makes? I saw somewhere that Candy Crush, just the original one, Candy Crush, there's 8 of them. There's Candy Crush Saga, there's a couple of them. The very first Candy Crush makes $4 million a day. A day. I did the math. That's over $1 billion just for the first Candy Crush. There's 7 of them. Microsoft went from not having a mobile thing at all, really, to like second or third in the world in the mobile division. And there's Call of Duty mobile as well. So the Activision mobile stuff and the King mobile stuff together they went from like 0 to like second or third in the world as far as mobile publishing goes. Okay? So what this lady say? Hang on. Let me write it back.
They have the money, the talent, and all of the game
Oh,
franchises.
yes. They're layoffs. Why are they laying off so many people? They laid off 10% of King's workforce, which was 200 people. Can anyone, even you, Laura, can you rationalize or explain to me, someone who has also worked in gaming for 17 years, before I worked for Surface, I worked for Oculus before they were the Meta Quest. I tested game performance. You know, remember you used to walk into Best Buy and you'd see like the high-end PCs and laptops and it would say Oculus VR ready, that little sticker on it. That was me and my teammate up here. There was 2 of us. We ran all the game testing on all the different machines, on all the different graphics cards, laptops, desktops, stuff that wasn't even out yet. Okay? So I do have a little knowledge of gaming, okay? Professionally. Can you explain to me why it took and why it takes 2,000 people to run Candy Crush? And I'm not belittling anyone's job. I myself was let go 2 years ago. Do I seem bitter or upset about it? No. That's just the nature of technology. Things move, things shift. When I got laid off, it was not a surprise to me. That's not the first time I've been laid off. If I got a new job today, I would not be surprised the next time I get laid off. That's just the nature of it. Some of us don't get to have 20 years careers. I almost made it. I'm one of the lucky ones. I almost made it. Your first credit is in what, 1998? So your 20 years was 2018, and the last thing I see you're credited with was 2015. You were in the business about as long as I was total. So you and I both know that these things don't last forever, right? So 2,000 people to run 8 Candy Crush games. Does that sound right to you? Meanwhile, all of Valve, who runs Steam and makes games and runs tournaments and makes hardware, has about 350 people running that entire corporation. But it takes 2,000 people to run Candy Crush? Is that what you're telling me? So that explains these crazy. Why are they laying people off? It's expensive, yo. These companies are way over bloated, and you guys know it. When you work back on Microsoft Revenge of Arcade in 1998, how many people were on that team, Laura? How many people were on that team? We can Google it. And you can tell me if I'm wrong. How many devs worked on, what was it even called? Microsoft Revenge of Arcade. Microsoft Revenge of Arcade. In terms of development credits, the Windows version of Microsoft Revenge of the Arcade shows a total of 34 people listed, including 29 developers, and 5 acknowledgements. Correct me if I'm wrong. 29 devs made that game. Do you really need 2,000 people to run Candy Crush? Yes or no? Okay. The whole thing with what was the other company, the Volition or whatever they were? Weren't they struggling to even figure out their command structure for years? Turn 10. The last game they made was Forza Motorsport. What was that, 4 or 5? I can't remember what Forza that was. Not Forza Horizon. Forza Motorsport. The last one of those games was 2017. It's 2025. What have they been doing for 8 years? The layoffs left and right. Explain. Perfect Dark. Did you see Joanna Dark? The artwork for her? That game was doomed. That was another woke, masculine jawline, female action-led disaster waiting to happen. The only people that remember Perfect Dark to be excited for were the people who played the last Perfect Dark, which was a launch title on the 360. You tell me my kids, who are teenagers now, give a crap about Perfect Dark? You think they're ever going to play that? No. That's for Perfect Dark is for people who remember the N64, who remember the 360 launch. They weren't going to buy that game. That game was going to be forgotten Game Pass fodder. And they knew it. And the budget for that was going crazy. And they started working on that in 2018? Almost 7 years later, no game. It's Perfect Dark. How long did it take them to make Perfect Dark after they made GoldenEye? Let's see. How far apart was GoldenEye and Perfect Dark on the N64? They were 2 years and 9 months. In 3 years, they made a completely different game. And let's say they were working on Perfect Dark, starting to work on it, let's say a year before GoldenEye came out. So 4 years. You're telling me in 7 years we didn't get a Perfect Dark game? Meanwhile, on Steam, people are dropping games left and right. There's been like almost 10,000 games released on Steam just this year. I'm working on 2 games to release on Steam myself and a visual novel. I'm one person working on a team of 3 people. We're working on 3 separate projects. You're telling me a team of 100 people in 7 years couldn't get a Perfect Dark game out the door with all the resources at Microsoft's disposal, with all the resources at everyone's disposal? You're telling me they couldn't get a Perfect Dark game out in 7 years and counting? That game was costing about $150 to $200 million, I promise you, and they had nothing to show for it. But a freaking strong, jawline, woke, modern day, whatever game that wasn't going to sell. Definitely not enough to get $150, $200 million back, guaranteed. So that had to go. So here's all your layoffs. So let's just stop talking about that. Next time you bring up those layoffs, I'm just going to skip it, okay? Respectfully.
They could possibly want. So why are they laying off thousands of people? Why aren't they shipping one game hit after another? They should be printing money at this point.
Why are they not shipping one game after another? List of Xbox and Microsoft games released in 2025. We have Doom: The Dark Ages. It's not really an Xbox game, but it was heavily promoted by them. Expedition 33. You got Ninja Gaiden 4. You got South of Midnight. You got Avowed. You got Oblivion Remastered. You got Forza Horizon 5 coming to PlayStation. You got Indiana Jones last year. Well, these were all top sellers on other consoles as well, just so you know that. What's this listing all these other games? We'll get rid of the Microsoft ones because it's just throwing out Windows releases, and that's kind of. You got Outer Worlds 2 coming out. You got Atom Fall. You have Hollow Knight Silksong coming out this year. You have what else came out this year? I know you got well, that's not their game, but that's on Game Pass. Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers. You got I know I'm missing some. Help me out, chat. Help me out down below. I know I'm missing some. You got Grounded 2 coming out this year. You had the shadow drop of Ninja Gaiden Sigma Black 2 or whatever. Let's just open up the app and take a look. Can we just search by release? Get out of here. I think it's only game deals. Wish list. New games. You got Skull and Bones is on here. That's interesting. Let's see. We can take a look. I know we're missing some games. Sort by. Here we go. Filters. Number of play. Whatever's. I know we're missing some games, but that's just off the top of my head. Those ones I just announced. That's like what, 7 or 8 games? Yeah. So what are you talking about? They've been flooding the market with games.
We're to increase the price to $20 a month.
As I've said before, making a great game or awesome hardware is very difficult even in the best of circumstances. But the problems with Xbox are more than that. And
What?
today we'll talk about the pattern I've seen in many companies, not just Microsoft.
There's Destin, who I unsubscribe to because he's just a sensationalist just cashing in on stuff. Not even just saying stuff. Worked at IGN forever and just is like, I'm surprised it's like this. Well, how and why are you surprised, Destin? Whatever, dude. Okay, what's the problem, more?
And how difficult it is to avoid and fix entrenched cultural problems.
You know why it's difficult? Because people like you can't move on and see the bigger picture. You're still talking about, look at these old ass games you're playing and you're showing. People like you are still talking about this old stuff like it's 2005. When Microsoft changes their thing and puts their games on other platforms and introduces something like Game Pass and does Play Anywhere, you guys all jump on them and say that they're screwing up and is this sustainable? And then when they do it, they're like, well, it's hard to do that. They're already doing it. What have you guys been complaining about this whole time?
When Xbox started, it was exciting. Everyone wanted to be a part of it, which
oh
was
my gosh, no, they did not. What Kool-Aid are you drinking? There was a whole bunch of games that were not on the Xbox. How was it exciting if no one even knew what it was? People didn't know what it was. Unless you were like a nerd and really into this stuff, no one knew what it was until Halo came out. And then what did people play on that thing? Halo? What else did they play on there? Sports games? That was it. What do you mean everyone wanted a piece of it? You were there. What are you talking about? Should I go pull up the 6-part documentary where they barely got the Xbox greenlit? What are you talking about? Only dorks like us even knew what that thing was. People were still calling video game systems Nintendo back then. Nobody was calling it PlayStations yet. They didn't start calling video games PlayStations until the PS2, which was this generation. But yet everyone wanted to be on the Xbox? What do you mean? Yes, people were interested in making some money like EA and all them, but there weren't that many like indie type games and there weren't that many niche-y type games. There were, but not compared to PlayStation. What was that game on the GameCube? Eternal Darkness. There wasn't a game like that on the Xbox. There was several like that on the PS2. I guess the closest on the Xbox would have been like the Oddworld games. Just little weird little niche-y things like that. But those are also on PC and stuff too, I thought, right? What are you talking about, lady? Anyway.
Great. It was easy to recruit.
It went well. We showed nothing,
Yeah.
technically.
There's that documentary I'm talking about. It went well. They showed
But
nothing.
it started to build the excitement.
But it's not only talented people that show up, it's everybody. It's the talented people that you want, it's the incompetent people that you don't, and you have a few corrupt people thrown in the middle. And telling them apart,
Why are you
figuring
showing
out who to
American
hire
Psycho?
is hard. And here's the thing, even when you know it's
Hi, person who's making a game here myself on a $0 budget. If you contribute something to it, I don't care if you're incompetent. If you contribute anything worthwhile to the entire process, you're welcome here. It depends on what I'm asking you to do. If I hire you to be the main coder and you're incompetent, okay, that's one thing. But if you're like an idea person, if you're a producer, we can work with these things. Yeah, I don't want you to be there and be a total fuck up. And I think that's what she's saying. But it just seems so dismissive of me. Some people are incompetent because they're new to something. I don't know. Like I see what she's saying, but it just sounds dismissive. Anyway, go ahead.
a problem and you need to be very careful in your hiring, even the best people can make mistakes. And if a new hire is in a high leverage position, one that can severely impact the business, things can start to go poorly.
Duh.
And to be clear, high leverage positions are not just the executives. High leverage also means the people in what I call the interface positions, people that interact with large parts of the team or with the publisher or with the community.
You do realize those are most of the people that got laid off, right? It was mostly middle management and mostly like community managers and marketing. These are literally the people you're describing. The most important ones, and also could be the most dangerous ones, depending on the competency level. That's mostly who got laid off in all this, just so you know. But you know that already, right?
Think producers, art leads, programming leads, and community managers.
That's exactly who got laid off. Their managers and some of the higher up ones. Those important roles where there was too many of them or they were screwing up. Just exactly what you're talking about. Though, out of the 9,000 Xbox people, it wasn't 9,000. It was 9,000 across all of Microsoft, across all divisions. Okay? Those are the people that got laid off. These ones right here that you're talking about can make or break your company. Those are the ones that they let go. Okay? So you're agreeing with them. Go ahead.
People often overlook community management, but it is a very influential position on a game team. It's important.
Yes.
Because sometimes the community manager is the only person the gamer will ever interact with at the game studio.
Yes. Keep going.
And a lot of feedback that a game developer hears about their game is filtered through high leverage positions, those interfaces. And if the data is changed or excluded by the person on the interface, the game developer doesn't get good feedback. And if you're not getting good feedback, it's very difficult to make good decisions.
Exactly. Why don't you ask the community manager over there at Helldivers that all of a sudden wanted to put their furry opinions and everything and was banning people for that? Why don't you ask the community managers over at the Godot engine who wanted to make everything political and was revoking people's paid subscriptions and access to assets and engines for their game engine based on political stuff? Why don't you talk to the community manager who was over at, was it the Volition when they still existed? That whole Saints Row debacle coming after customers. Yes, you're right. When you have people like that as your community managers, they got to go. And guess who got laid off 2 weeks ago? They did.
And this is a pattern I've seen in many companies, not just Microsoft, where success happens and suddenly you have all of this money, power, and fame. And people show up and they try to wrestle over it. They want to control it and the culture changes. In my view, this is what happened in Xbox. The culture went from being renegades that were mostly an engineering and production meritocracy to being a patronage culture filled with business people.
Yes, because it's 2025, lady. It's cutthroat out there. They're slimming down. Why is this a surprise for you? It was even more cutthroat in the 90s. It was just, the thing wasn't so well defined yet. It was very nebulous. So while it might seem like you had more renegade freedom, was what you just said, and nerdocracy, yes, it was like that too when I started. Wasn't like that when I left 2 years ago now, 2023, yeah, 2 years ago now. Wasn't like that when I left. Sure, we still had a good time and stuff, but it was nothing like when I first started off in 2007. 2008, 2009, 2010. It was nothing like that. Times change. In case, take a look around. People are struggling. Businesses want to maximize things. They want to be efficient because they want to keep making the line go up. And we've reached a saturation point in a lot of fields, including video games. You can always still make the line go up, but you got ways to make the line go up is shedding people. And they shed the people that you just pointed out.
And by patronage, I mean people who are hired for reasons other than being good at their job.
Oh. You mean like DEI stuff? Those are also some of the people that got let go. And before you're all, look at me. I've never in my life ever wanted a position where I got hired because this. If you're going to hire me because of this and I find out, I'm quitting that instant. I'm not there to check no boxes. I'm there because you want me there. I'm there because my skills align with what you need at your job. I don't care if we get along or not. It's not important. It's a bonus, but that's not important. You hired me at that job because my skills align with the thing that you need. Not because of this, not for any other reason. So I'll gladly say things are woke, and I'll gladly say things are DEI. Look at that. A's higher A's, B's higher C's. So since we're talking about letters already, DEI. There you go.
Once it gets started, the culture sustains because every incompetent person that gets hired hires more incompetent people. And sometimes it's because they're trying to protect their position, so they don't want someone who's better than them working for them.
Agreed.
But other times it's because they can't recognize competence even in themselves.
Agreed.
You may have heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect. It essentially says that if you don't know something, then you can't recognize if someone else does either.
Sure.
So imagine you're an artist you've never programmed in your life, and you're being asked to interview someone and figure out if they're a good programmer.
Okay.
This is a very difficult problem. And on top of that, it's very difficult to separate competence from confidence. In an article for Pacific Standard, David...
What? Hold on.
This is a very difficult problem. And on top of that, it's very difficult to separate competence from confidence.
At first. But I've been in on the hiring processes, not just in gaming related things, but in telecom, in retail. I've never run into that before. And it's never just been me either. There's always been a panel and we bounce things off of each other. If one of us missed it for this reason, another person caught it. That's why you do it like that. I've been in on the hiring processes in tech and stuff like that before, and confidence don't mean shit. What are you talking about? We've never hired someone because they were confident. Or if we did, that was the fourth or fifth reason why we brought them on. Let me tell you, when we were hiring in tech, and this is just based on me, and I'm sure you've definitely had your input on hiring and stuff before. I'm not trying to downplay it, but I'm just providing a counterpoint here, ma'am. It always goes with your experience, your willingness to learn, and your temperament. Whether you were shy or boastful or confident, that didn't really have anything at all to do with it. After those 3 points. And the fourth secret point, which is not so much of a secret, can we stand you? And that doesn't mean, oh, we love you and oh, we can't wait to have this person there because they X, Y, Z. But can we talk to you? Are we going to be able to stand your face every day? Does it seem like you can stand our face every day? And then your confidence. That's usually the last thing we ask. Boom, 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 the hidden one. How confident do you feel in all this? Do you feel you'll be able to jump right in, or or do you feel like you're going to take some time to get up to speed? There's no wrong answer here. Okay? So this part's true, but only if you're like 2 inches deep. If you're shallow as fuck.
In an article for Pacific Standard, David Dunning said the following. In many cases, incompetence does not leave people disoriented, perplexed, or cautious. Instead, the incompetent are often blessed with an inappropriate confidence, buoyed by something that feels to them like knowledge.
Yes. That's why we don't hire based off confidence. This is one of the reasons
you see these confident executives in the games industry
who
think they know more than the gamers themselves, who they're supposed to be serving.
Yeah, like Android.
And they're rolling out products.
Like Android Wilson, like the PlayStation leadership, like Infinity examples. But anyway, go ahead.
Products that don't appeal to them.
Okay.
Gamers were baffled when the Xbox team charged an extra $100 for the Xbox One.
Exactly.
Because they
Fun story, Laura. This reveal took place in a giant tent. Remember that B footage of the campus you just showed? Those new buildings, those are called the studios. The part where I was like, oh, I know where that is. That's the studios. Right on the other side of that building that was on the left, there's a big open soccer field. And they built a giant tent, and this reveal was in that tent, and I was in Studio A. I could look out the window and see that tent. We all paused what we were doing that day. I was working on Xbox Connect stuff for the 360. We all paused what we were doing that day, and we all watched this reveal. And we all sat there, and we all looked at each other like, they are cooked. What are they doing? Oh, no. Oh, no. This does not bode well for them, and if it doesn't bode well for them, it don't bode well for us. Let me tell you a little anecdote. I had a friend who I went to school with out here, and he was working on this, but he couldn't tell me anything about it. One day I met him for lunch, and I was saving up some money because I knew the new PlayStation was around the corner about to be announced. I knew that this was around the corner about to be announced, and I was saving up, and I was like, and I wanted to get a PC, and I had about $700 saved up. And when he and I had lunch one day, and I said, hey, man, you ain't got to tell me anything, so I know you can't. Should I save up my money for the new Xbox? Should I save up my money for the new PlayStation? Or should I just get myself a PC? You just tell me right now, do you think the new Xbox would be worth my money? And we're referring to this, but he couldn't tell me. And he didn't say anything. He just looks me dead in the eye and just shakes his head no. And I go, oh, because I was kind of crushed because I love my 360, and I was planning on getting the new Xbox and then building my PC and having those two talk back and forth to each other. I figured my saves would go back and forth. I figured I could stream from one to another. You know, just like you could do with the 360, more or less. Your computer and your 360 could handshake and do certain things, and certain files were compatible back and forth. So I wanted that with this. So from where this dude's standing right now, oh, there's Phil. From where Phil's standing right now, I was maybe about 200 yards away, sitting in my office at my little cubicle, and there's the tent right outside the window. So for context, I was there. I was maybe 200 yards away from this.
Wanted to include the Kinect. I think the Xbox leaders hoped that by forcing Kinect into the hardware, game developers would have to
Yes,
support it.
it was a
and
disaster.
They didn't even ask the public.
We know that.
members. And they certainly did not want to spend an extra $100 for it.
Yes, we know all this.
And they'll waste any.
Xbone was a disaster.
I would bet on a team over an individual any day. And these delusions aren't just at Xbox. Take a moment and watch the pivoting of Silicon Valley. In 2021, everyone's building a metaverse. Facebook even changed their name to Meta.
Okay, so these are bad ideas.
There's often no accountability because the people who are making the poor decisions, well, remember, they're not there for meritocracy reasons. In fact, oftentimes, the more failures, the more promotions they get. I remember being asked to lead a game that was considered a disaster because it had already lost something like $30 million for the company.
Mm-hmm.
And the team was going around joking that I was in the big leagues now, that I was finally losing enough money that I was going to be promoted in no time.
What?
And that's when I started to notice that pattern. Of course, sometimes it's deliberate. Some people are getting promoted because they won't threaten the position of other executives. Think about it for a minute. Satya, the CEO of Microsoft, made around $80 million in total compensation in 2024.
Okay.
That's a lot of money. I think it's hard.
This company's worth $4 trillion. What percentage of 4 trillion is 80 million? He made 0.2% of what his company's worth. So you're right. That's a lot of money. But that ain't shit compared to the ship that he steers. That'd be like you're a cargo ship captain, right? Let me see. Let's do the math here. How much do cargo ship captains make on average worldwide? It ranges from $80,000 to $150,000 per year, okay? How much merchandise in US dollars does the average cargo ship carry under full load? Just tell me out a number. Average value per container. That can't be right. Just tell me out a fucking number. Determining the price on average fully is challenging. Just do it. Okay, let's see. Well, precisely, it's clear the average cargo ship carries merchandise worth of hundreds of millions or even billions of US dollars when fully loaded. And your average captain makes what, $80,000 to $150,000 a year? So, why is it so weird that he makes $80 million? How much does Jensen make? How much does Jensen of NVIDIA make annually? He made $50 million. Okay. A base salary of 1.5 and 38 million in stock. So he made that is not increased value over year. Okay, so he made $50 million. Most of that was in stock. So there you go. Why don't you go after him too? That's a lot of money too, you know? Anyway. Yeah, that's 0.002%.
Hard for most people to even comprehend how much money the CEO of one of the most
Okay, cool.
What would you do to keep that?
Keep what?
He's got money, fame, and power. What would you do to keep that? Would you want to bring in an aggressive new employee who's going to challenge your position? Or would you want to play it safe?
I don't get
Think
your
about
angle
all the-
here. You're saying Satya is incompetent? This man is not incompetent. He knows exactly what the fuck he's doing. More so than any of their CEOs they've ever had before. He's getting rid of the bloat. He's actually looking at like what's actually practical. When Microsoft was built on operating systems, right? They've taken that operating system and they've leveraged it into other things, including servers. What's the world all depending on now? AI, servers, storage, all that stuff. Who's number 2 in the world in storage? And what's Microsoft's number 1 business? Is Azure. Okay? And then he took a look at Xbox and he's like, wait a minute. These things are running on Windows. We already have a bunch of classic franchises. We are the default gaming platform on PC. Let's do something with that. And also he looked and he saw, hey, Xbox, you're making $26 billion a year in revenue. Hey, Windows, you're making $26 billion a year in revenue. Why not let's work together and like do this thing? And then Phil comes to him and is like, hey man, I see a perfect opportunity for us to snatch away PlayStation's biggest moneymaker, which is Call of Duty. They're over there floundering. They're in a PR nightmare just like we are. We can snatch them away. We can get away with it because we're technically third place. And actually getting them doesn't guarantee us jumping to first. So that's how we can get around all this stuff. And when we do that, along with the fact that they money hat third-party games, which is not going to last forever because game prices are going up, production, and people just can't afford just to have their games sitting on floundering on one system. They got to sell it everywhere. We all know this too. We can totally paint our opponents into a corner, but it's going to be spendy. This dude greenlit those checks. You think Ballmer would have done that? You think Bill Gates would have done that? He barely greenlit the Xbox to begin with. So you're calling this guy? I don't. Are you insinuating that he's incompetent? I don't know the man, but I know how he runs things. He was my boss 2 years ago. Sure, some of the things don't make sense, but it makes a lot more sense what he was doing than what Ballmer was doing when I was there. Nobody raised a bit. Well, I guess people did raise a stink when they bought Skype, but you know what I mean. Holy crap! I'm up to 42 minutes. Let's get through this.
Times you've seen people do crazy things for money, a lot less money than what we're talking about here.
Do crazy things. Okay,
Tell me
what's
something you sell today if you offered $1 million.
I've seen it many times.
okay?
George, I'll start you out at $20,000 a year.
And here's what I've observed. You don't know. You don't know how you're going to react to that much money or that much power and fame
Keep going.
until you're tested.
Okay, George?
Okay, Mr. Potter. All right. Oh, no, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. I don't need 24 hours. I don't have to talk to anybody. I know right now, and the answer's no.
Successful studio.
Okay, go ahead.
I worry about Sandfall. They've had incredible success, and they're likely going to encounter some corrupt people.
Oh my gosh, you're talking about some what
Worse,
ifs.
though, is that some of the people are just plain
Oh my
undervalued.
gosh.
And the culture of original Xbox as being mostly meritocracy, because some of the people who came over from Microsoft, they were empire builders, and all they wanted to do was take all of that power and fame and enrich themselves.
Okay.
They're not interested in making
Is that bad?
care about things like media coverage. They want to be seen as a visionary.
Okay. Next.
A green room is where people that are about to go on stage gather ahead of time to get ready. So being in the room is pretty cool. It's full of...
Whatever. We know what green rooms are.
So I'm there, and one of the executives is complaining to a PR person about his interviews that week. He was upset because two of the publications that he really wanted to do interviews for had requested other executives. They explained this to him, but he didn't care.
What does this have to do with Xbox?
Because he wanted those interviews.
What does this have to do with Xbox and the dangers of success? This is universal. This is like this could be Hollywood. This could be Bollywood. This could be Chinese cinema. This could be Sandfall. This could be Xbox Game Studios. This could be PlayStation. This could be any. This could be oil. This could be politics. What does this have to do with Xbox? What are you talking about?
It was about him, not what was best for Xbox.
Okay,
Not
good.
When I was asked to lead the augmented reality product team at Oculus.
Wait, you were?
I saw it when I was... Fast forward several years later, and I saw it again. I saw it when I was asked to lead the augmented reality product team at Oculus.
Mm-hmm.
We had interviewed several people and had failed to hire. So I was asked to do the job and to talk to the team about it. So I'm talking to one of the researchers, and he has only one concern. And that is what will happen if we successfully launch the product. He wants to know whether or not I will be the one on stage taking credit for it instead of letting him do that.
At that point, you go, bro, what does it have to do with anything? Is that why you're here? Is to go be famous and go talk on stage? Then go write some poetry. We're building a VR headset here. The whole point of us all being here is to work on a VR. What are you talking about, dude? I wouldn't have maybe come at him that pointy, but I would have been like, what are you... I'll put it to you this way. Like I said, I'm working on 2 games and a visual novel, right? The games I'm spearheading, okay? But let's say in 2 years we release the game and it wins Game of the Year and we get all this press. Am I arguing with my friends over who gets to talk? Are you serious? I'd just be happy that my dream came true and people played my game and I can pay my rent with it. And I can send my kids to school with it. And I can buy food with it. I think people who worry about anything past that, there's something wrong with you. And I heard what you said earlier. You don't know what it's going to be like when you're in that position and da-da-da-da-da-da. I've worked mall retail job. My first job was in a cornfield when I was 13 years old. My last job at Microsoft, I was making over $100,000 a year. So I've been at the extremes. And when I got that money, the last time I was working, I didn't go crazy with it. I don't like money. I don't like material things. Don't get me wrong. I like my toys. I got my microphone and my little PC set up and it's sitting on top of my nice TV and blah, blah, blah. But as far as like, my wife and I were just talking about this the other day. She's very comfort driven, very material driven. She likes to know that things are there and things are going to be there and go on trips. And she likes to do things that cost money. Nothing wrong with any of that. I'm not saying there is. But me, personally, I don't take comfort in any of that. She asked me what my goal in life was. My goal in life was to leave a good impression and a positive influence on the people that are close to me. Like if I step up a curve right now and get hit by a bus and I'm gone, I'll die with the knowledge that my children knew who their father was. Like actually knew him. I'll die with the knowledge that when they're older, 30, 40 years old, and they face some decision, whether it's big or mundane, and they wonder for half a second, I wonder what my dad would have thought. My kids aren't going to wonder. They're going to know what I thought. That's my goal in life. I don't care about no big house. I have a roof over my head. Is it ideal roof? Is it really where I want to be? No, not really. But am I really complaining when there's homeless people literally outside my door? No, I'm not. I slept in this parking lot of the apartment building that I've lived in since 2014. In 2013, in late 2014, I slept in this parking lot in my car because I was homeless. And later that year, I ended up moving into the same apartment building, and I've been here since. So that person, I would just be like, dude, what are you even talking about? Do you want to go up there? It's really not that big a deal.
I laughed and said he didn't need to worry about that because there was zero chance that would happen. If we succeeded, Mark Zuckerberg would be the guy presenting. Mark would never miss being the face of the product he's spending billions of dollars on.
True. That's a good answer.
So even in the early days of Xbox, we had people joining the team that weren't great hires. And gradually, the builders, the people that knew how to make things, weren't part of the decisions. As an example, look at what happened with Bungie when they were working on Halo 2. Bungie was having problems and they were behind. They needed an extra year. Well, the Xbox team didn't like that, which is totally understandable as it impacted their plans. So given the importance of Halo to the Xbox team, Robbie asked Ed Freeze to come and present to the rest of the leadership why it was that Bungie needed more time. I think it was totally reasonable to have that meeting. It was forcing some accountability. That said, he then did something I thought was unreasonable.
So we go in and we have the meeting, and Robbie basically goes around the room and takes a vote. And it went around the room and everybody voted to keep it on the original schedule.
Oh my God.
I walked out of the room and basically I just threatened to quit immediately. Robbie gave in, calmed me down, and he agreed, and he gave us the extra year for Halo 2.
Of course, given none of these people in the room had ever shipped a game, they of course voted that it should ship on time, as if that was going to make any difference at all.
Why'd you put that up to them?
Remember,
You're the boss.
I interviewed with Bungie during Halo 2. There was zero chance they were going to make the date. It wasn't going to happen. And here's the thing. I liked Robbie. He was like Peter Moore. He was a great product marketing focused guy back when it was old school marketing and they talked to customers, wanted to know what they want.
I have a cool story about Peter Moore. So my first ever Microsoft job was for Microsoft Game Studios. It was out at Millennium Campus, out in Bear Creek at the very end of Redmond, right over by the park and ride. And I worked on Halo 2 on the PC. I worked on Viva Pinata. I worked on Zoo Tycoon. I worked on what was the other one? The first Gears of War. I missed being in the credits of that game by 2 weeks. You had to work on it for 3 months, and I worked on it for 2.5 months, and I just barely missed being in the credit. Anyway, my very last day at that job, I emailed Peter Moore, and I seen his Jaguar. He had a green Jaguar that he used to park there. No, he had a green Aston Martin, and I used to wonder, who the heck is here that's driving an Aston Martin that's green? I was like, I bet you that's Peter Moore's car. Later on, I saw a video by Mega64 where they were by his car, and he was telling them to get away from his car. So I was like, yep, that's definitely Peter Moore. So I emailed him. I found him in the email address book, and I emailed him, and I said, hey, this is my first ever gaming experience. This is my first time ever working for Microsoft. I had a fantastic time. I hope I get to do it again. Thanks for the opportunity. He actually emailed me back and was like, hey, that's fantastic. I'm glad you had a great time. Everyone's going to have a great time playing the games that you worked on. Hope you enjoy your free copy of the game, and we hope to see you here again. He actually took the time and responded to me. That was pretty cool. Peter Moore's a good guy. I have nothing but good things to say about that guy.
But he also knew to listen to engineers. So it was surprising that Robbie had done this. And I had a lot of respect for Ed F for standing up against that because it was ludicrous and it took a lot of courage for him to do that. So here you have Robbie. He's a good leader. And then he does something really dumb. Why? It's because he listened to the wrong people. Right? He listened to the wrong people. And ultimately, even though he made the right decision for Halo 2, it cost him Ed Freeze. Ed Freeze left the company, and he was the person who brought him Halo in the first place.
Okay.
I worked with Phil Spencer, and I thought he was a good leader too. He listened to his team, and I agreed with his direction most of the time. And if I didn't agree, we could discuss it without me feeling like I would lose my job. But that was a different team. And judging from some of the mistakes around Halo and Perfect Dark, I'm starting to think that he's not getting.
How do you know Perfect Dark was a mistake? How do you know? How do you know it was a mistake? Why do people keep bringing that game up? Like it was going to be like the next Halo or something. I promise you that game was not going to be the next Halo or something. These guys released Atomfall. And if Atomfall was good, but the Perfect Dark wasn't good enough to launch, it wasn't good. You already had Stalker 2 come out. You already had a bunch of games. Do you really need a game to come out and screw up the legacy? Because the last two Perfect Dark games, especially the first one, are considered classics. Second one's kind of shallow and stuff, but it's not a horrible game by any stretch. And it moved 360 units. People bought 360s to play Perfect Dark. They did. It served its purpose. Why release something stuck in the modern day that's not going to help you and potentially damage that brand? You're better off scrapping it, starting over with a team that actually wants to make something akin to how that game used to be in a newer engine and actually release it within 3 or 4 years. Why not just do that? So stop talking about Perfect Dark like it's some big tragedy. Same thing with that ZeniMax producer or whatever that was like, we lost a monumental change. The MMO we were working on was going to be a paradigm shift for that. Shut up. Probably not. I could be wrong, but probably not. So stop talking about Perfect Dark and that other game and there's other games like we missed out on something. We didn't. Look at your Steam backlog. Look at your Xbox Game Pass backlog. You go play something else. We got enough to play, man.
Good data, and that's part of the problem. Without talking to the team, it's difficult
How do you
to
know he didn't talk
if
to the
it's
team?
mostly competent people that aren't being heard, or corrupt and incompetent employees extracting value for themselves and driving the Xbox and the games off a cliff.
Cheers.
Normally, with a large enough team, you're going to have all of these people.
Yeah.
And so the only question is whether or not the good guys are winning.
Who are the good guys?
Or the game maker.
These are corporations, lady. What good guys are you talking about? The good guys are cashing checks and going home and paying their mortgage and raising their kids or going on vacation or petting their dogs or whatever they're doing. Buying Teslas. Who knows? Sending money back home to support their family. Who knows? Whatever they're doing. Blowing it on Magic the Gathering, Final Fantasy cards. Who knows what they're doing with that money? What do you mean the good guys? We're talking Microsoft Corporation. We're talking Sony Corporation. We're talking Nvidia Corporation. We're talking Tencent Corporation. Stop with the good guys and bad guy stuff. It's money, money, money. That's it. These aren't people. These are corporations. So stop with that. If you want to have a good guy corporation, then go make your own game. But then you're saying the people who Sandfall, now they're evil or they have the potential to be evil. That's life. You could work at Safeway and the same thing would happen. You could lead a Boy Scout troop and the same thing would happen. You could run a bowling league. The same thing would happen. So what are we talking about here? What's this got to do with video games and Xbox specifically?
Are the builders? Are they winning? Do they have a seat at the table?
Yes, they
do.
do.
Are they being heard?
Yes. Do you want to know how I know the builders are winning? Do you want to know how I know the builders are winning? Let's look at Steam. Most played. Look at that. Banana. Marvel Rivals. Rust. Dota 2 was a mod. RimWorld. Dead by Daylight. Baldur's Gate 3. Peak. Wallpaper Engine. Stardew Valley. Delta Force. DayZ was also a mod. Bongo Cat. VR Chat. 7 Days to Die. Pretty Derby. Counter-Strike Source was also a mod. Counter-Strike is the sequel to a mod. The list goes on and on and on. Power World. Repo. Geometry Dash. Do I have to keep going on? Gary's Mod. Terraria. This is how you know the builders are winning. Rematch. What the heck is Soundpad? BNG Drive. Killing Floor 3. Final Fantasy 14. Even though this is part of Square Enix, this is very creator driven. Yoshi P is goated. Factoria. Binding of Isaac. Valheim. Wu Chang. Claire Expedition 33. Scum. Where's Lethal Company? That game totally fell off. Brawlhalla. Balatro. Schedule 1. Wait, OBS Studio is on Steam? Get the fuck out of here. OBS is on Steam? I'm on OBS right now. That's crazy. Okay. Did not know that. I'm going to add this to my library, even though I already have it. I'm using it right now. That's hilarious to me. That's so cool. Yes, so the builders are winning, Laura. Don't worry.
Or have they lost their spiritual self?
No.
And if they're not being heard, are there enough left of them at the company in Xbox?
Don't worry about the company. Why are you worried about Microsoft? You used to work there. They're worth more now than they ever were before. Xbox right now is worth more than it ever was before. Windows, probably not. But they're doing fine. Who are these people that worry about how Microsoft's going to do? Who?
To argue for change? I hope.
Argue for change. Isn't Xbox putting their games on PlayStation? Haven't they been putting their games on Steam since like the mid-2010s? Don't they have a console coming out in partnership with a third party? That's the first time we've seen that since, what, the 3DO in the 90s. What more change do you want? Do they not have a game subscription service, like a legit game subscription service that's available on 2 platforms? Aren't their next consoles going to run more than one storefront? What more change do you want? Anyway.
Hope so. But given that the stock market and the investors are still very happy with Microsoft,
Yes.
I think it's going to be a while before we hear the end of this story.
What story?
It's amazing what you can afford once you get out of the hardware business.
Once again, what does any of this have to do with Xbox? This could have been any field where corporations are involved, or any field where more than 2 people are. Like I said, everything you described in this video can happen at Safeway, can happen in a Girl Scout troop, can happen in a military unit, can happen in a bowling league, can happen at a large company like Tencent, or can happen in a little tiny little 3-man development squad that doesn't even really, we don't even have a business license yet. We haven't even really broken down how we're going to get potentially paid from any of this yet. It can happen to us. There's 3 of us. Anytime you have 2 more people, whatever you just described in this video can happen. What's this got to do with Microsoft? I get maybe you're just using Microsoft as like the backdrop of this, but given your last video and your track record, it doesn't seem likely. But anyway, it's been over an hour for a 15-minute video. Thanks for hanging in there and listening to me ramble away, you guys. I really appreciate it. Hit me up on Steam, and hit me up on Twitter/X or whatever, V-Gaming. Really appreciate it. Talk to you guys later. Peace out.